Good morning, everybody. Keith Engle here for Jack and Keith's Weekend Playbook. As we hit June 1st, hard to believe we've gone through the spring already. But let me welcome in my co-host, Boxing Hall of Fame writer and Michael Spink's biographer, Jack Hirsch. How are you, Jack?
Hey, good, Keith.
Exciting time to be a New York fan. Well, you're a Nets fan, I know, but you're jumping on the Knicks.
No, I always like the Knicks, but there's a difference involved. I don't understand why you can't be a fan of one team, but wish the other team in the city well. And now I know it goes back to before I could even follow sports, when you had the Brooklyn Dodgers, New York Giants, great National League rivalry, hated rivalry in the same division. I could kind of get that a little bit. And even with the Yankees, they would always be in the World Series playing one of them. But why can't you like the Knicks if you're a Net fan? And the Nets are relevant. They're no threat to the Knicks. I mean, why can't the Knicks welcome us into their home for the time being, welcome our support?
I have to admit I'm guilty of this, and I get on some of my friends and some of the commenters who root for multiple teams. I mean, I might have a rooting interest in a team if I have money on it or there's a player on it that I like, if my team's eliminated. Otherwise, I'm a Yankee fan. I stick with my team. I never root for the Mets. Never.
So you mean to tell me if the Mets are playing, hypothetically, the Chicago White Sox in the World Series, not going to happen, but let's say that scenario unfolded, you would be rooting for the team from Chicago, but you're not a New York City guy, really. You're more
No, I wouldn't root for the White Sox either. I just would watch the game. Like I would watch whatever, Chicago and the Cubs and the White Sox play. I wouldn't root for anybody.
Yeah, and another element, and I don't mean to get off the topic, state loyalty too. No one in New York City gives a darn about the Buffalo Bills because they're upstate. It's the same state, and no one in Buffalo cares about the Jets or the Giants. They have no use for the Jets or the Giants. But that's another matter.
Well, you New York City guys don't care about us upstate guys at all.
Listen, the Knicks in the finals. That's it. And the city is going crazy here.
27 years. 27 years they haven't been in the final, and 53 since we've won. So it's exciting.
Keith, they've got to get it done. If the Knicks lose in 7 games, if they lose a close 7th game, I don't want people to come back and say, oh, thanks a lot for a great season, guys. No, we're not going to be disappointed in the Knicks no matter what. But we're going to be deflated. It's championship or bust. There's such a wide gulf between winning a championship and just getting to the NBA Finals, the World Series, the Super Bowl. Tom Coughlin, the Giant coach, I think he, before they played the Patriots, one of the ways he motivated the Giants, he asked them, well, in what season did the Pittsburgh Steelers beat this team? But he wanted to make his point. Getting to the Super Bowl is great, but it's just not the ultimate goal. They're not going to remember you. They don't have reunions for teams that come up short. And the Knicks are carting out all their players from the past who came a little short. Ewing, Sprewell, Larry Johnson, John Starks. We love those guys.
Bernard King is there. Bernard King is there, Jack. Bernard
King. We love those guys, but we're not going to have a reunion for them. We're not. You don't have reunions for teams that go to the finals. If you're a championship team, you're bonded forever.
The fans feel this way, but I'm afraid because of what they did with Thibodeau and whatnot, that if they were to lose, the organization is going to spin this as a success. I really think they might, and they shouldn't. I agree. You saw SGA said yesterday, this MVP season was a complete failure. That's what the players should say, and the organization should say.
But it's easy when you have a championship under your belt. Like OKC, and you just got dethroned. I remember Kevin McHale saying it when they lost in the finals one year to the Lakers. He said this whole season has been a waste because they set a certain standard. In fairness to James Dolan, the Knicks aren't going to try to spin it a certain way. James Dolan was honest and forthright. He was asked recently, the type of job Thibodeau did. He said, look, he did a good job, and even Dolan would admit maybe we would have been to the finals with Thibodeau. We don't know. He's not trashing Thibodeau at all, Dolan, not in the slightest. But Dolan has been vindicated, at least. Had the Knicks lost to the Atlanta Hawks in the beginning of the playoff series, he would have been roasted, Dolan.
100%.
He would have been the one who would be most affected by the savage criticism coming in, not Mike Brown. They would have said, "Why did you had your coach Thibodeau? How can you replace him?"
Since we're talking about being happy getting only to a certain point, how come? Because I agree with your point 100%, but when I apply it to the Yankees and Aaron Boone, you tell me that it's win or nothing.
Baseball's a different game. You have less control. It is harder to win at baseball. You have less control. That's the way to get, because one player can dominate. One or two players can dominate a series for the most part. Look, LeBron James has been to 10 finals. 10 finals. A few of LeBron James's teams had no business when he was with the Cavs going to the finals. And when the Cavs played Golden State one of the years they lost to them when Golden State had Kevin Durant, the Cavs were so badly overmatched. In a series like that, just getting to the finals, it's not a wasted year because you're overmatched. The point I'm trying to make, this is a winnable series for the Knicks, a very winnable series for the Knicks.
It is.
And if they don't get it done, I don't want it to be spun. Well, it was a great year. Thank you guys for giving us all this joy, in this championship run. I don't want to hear it. The pressure is on the Knicks more than it is on the Spurs.
By the way,
the
Knicks have really, the Spurs opened up as a 220 plus 220 favorite, which is almost better than 2 to 1.
Too wide.
It's down to like plus 200 right now. In a day, it's gone down because that's a lot. It takes a lot of money to move that line that much too. So there's a lot of money coming in on the Knicks as we head towards the start of the season.
I thought it would be virtual even money. I don't see the Spurs as a clear favorite here. But the point I'm saying is this: let's think 1 year ahead. Then we don't know whether the Knicks are going to get to the NBA Finals next year. The Spurs are clear favorites to go to the finals. They might not. Maybe OKC comes back next year and puts it together. They stay healthy. They beat the Spurs. Maybe the Timberwolves finally have their breakthrough. The Timberwolves could have the breakthrough conceivably. But the point is this: the Spurs have their future more ahead of them than the Knicks do, somewhat. So it's kind of imperative for the Knicks to get it done now. The Spurs could lose to the Knicks. And you want to know something? They're ahead of schedule. They take something very good out of this year. But if the Knicks are to lose, that's going to be their legacy. Well, at least we got to the NBA Finals, but they didn't take the ultimate step. And the Knicks are as good as the Spurs. This is a winnable series for the Knicks.
Today, they're as good or maybe better than the Spurs, the way they've played in the playoffs.
The way they've been playing.
Yes.
My fear with the Knicks is the Cinderella syndrome. Eventually, the Knicks are going to level out. No team could be this great for this long the way the Knicks are, unless they're genuinely that great, meaning they have superstar players. And the only player that could resemble a superstar in the Knicks would be Jalen Brunson. But even then, if I said to you, Keith, I said to anyone, you included, Keith, who's better, for example, Jalen Brunson or Allen Iverson, for example? You wouldn't want to answer that question right now because you don't want to disrespect Jalen Brunson. But deep down, you're thinking, wow, I love Brunson. He's great, but I have to give a little edge to Allen Iverson. Yeah. And Iverson couldn't quite, carry a team.
It's an interesting question. We've talked about that. In fact, we had a big debate on my show yesterday about Tim Duncan and Wemby. We had, and I'm sorry, and Larry Bird came into the conversation, but this is a good one too, because my gut wants to say, I guess my heart wants to say right away, Jalen Brunson matches up fine with Iverson. Maybe not.
He needs a championship. If I'm in, Brian laughs about me always mentioning Isaiah Thomas, but if I say who's better, Brunson, Isaiah Thomas, we give Isaiah Thomas a little edge right now. But if the Knicks win the NBA championship, and Brunson would probably be Finals MVP. But if it happens, then Jalen Brunson comes into the discussion.
Yeah.
He comes into the discussion, arguably all of a sudden, maybe as an all-time great.
I think he needs to win another one to be an all-time great. But if he wins,
but if you're playing for the Knicks,
yeah,
one championship for the Knicks is worth two elsewhere.
That's quite possible. That's an interesting conversation.
Joe Namath isn't an all-time great quarterback, but the reason Joe Namath is one of the greatest impact names in NFL history, impact names, okay? Impact players, is because it was being, with the New York Jets. Had he gotten what he did accomplished with the Seattle Seahawks, Denver Broncos, it wouldn't have been as big.
Well, he also won the most important game in NFL history. If he didn't win that game, history could be totally different. So
probably not. That sounds good. Just like I hear, oh wow, Magic and Bird saved the NBA. Does anyone in their right mind think there'd be no NBA now if it wasn't for Magic and Bird?
I think it's entirely possible. I think it's entirely possible, by the way, that comment is true. Remember,
Keith, you out of your mind? You're telling me there'd be no NBA if it wasn't for Magic and Bird?
Jack, they were about to lose their TV contract in 1979.
The NBA would have been fine. They took the NBA to another level.
The NBA would have been the
NHL. Credit. Who took the NBA more to another level than anyone else in history? Then you can mention Magic and Bird. I'm on board with all that. But don't give me this nonsense about them saving, the NBA. It's ludicrous.
I can recommend a book for you to read that'll point this all out to you. There were so many teams losing money at that time, and the TV contract was going to dry up. In fact, they weren't even showing the finals live.
The NBA was going to continue, and they would get
the
TV contract at the other, at another date, whatever.
They would have been like the NHL was during the 80s and 90s. There would have been nothing. You couldn't even find the games. I'm telling you,
all that was before the advent of cable television.
Well, yes, agreed. There was only 3 channels you could get on. There were 3 major networks. Right?
Well, they had the NBA would have the game of the week, and when Magic won its first championship, the game was on tape delay. Actually, it's crazy.
Well, this is part of my point. They couldn't even get live games. The games were all put on at 11:30 at night.
So that's my point. Magic was there at the height of his charisma, and it was still on tape delay. So much for saving the NBA.
That game 6 that he was so great when Kareem was hurt, right? When they won that championship.
No, it took off. It was inevitable.
11:30 at night.
Inevitable. The face of sports changes and things. But the NBA would have they gave the NBA the greatest boost in popularity of anyone, Magic and Bird, without question. You could credit them more than Jordan for giving the NBA a boost in popularity. I'm not arguing that. But when you say save the NBA, the idea to think there'd be no NBA going on today, no games, that's what I mean. That's ludicrous.
I don't think there'd be no NBA, right? But I don't think the NBA, and maybe they would have rebounded. Michael Jordan would have caught up.
They would have caught up later.
Eventually, it would have taken a lot longer, I think.
It would have taken longer. Yeah, they speeded up the process.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Kind of on that same wavelength, though. I mean, for the NBA today, who's it better? Go ahead. If you got
anything. Let me get on here with this. There's been a debate going on where you, and I see your point, James and Brian, have been getting on me about me disputing any potential rivalry taking place now between San Antonio and OKC.
Only in the sense that OKC's not going away.
I understand what I was trying to say, and you were drawing a comparison, and I wrongly said yesterday with the Red Sox and the Yankees. When the Yankees were beating the Red Sox all the time, it was still a rivalry.
Yes, it was.
I get all that, but my point that I was trying to make, okay, and you're correct, public perception-wise, it could be billed as a rivalry, and that's how we could maybe look at it. Even when the old-time Laker teams of West and Baylor were losing to the Celtics won all the time.
So a rivalry.
It was a rivalry because they played all the time. The Yankees, Dodgers, before the Dodgers had a breakthrough and won their one World Series, the Brooklyn Dodgers, I mean.
Yeah.
It was kind of a rivalry. I'm talking in the sense of a competitive rivalry, not billing it for, market purposes or the fans looking forward to it. I get where you're coming from with that, okay? My point is, if OKC couldn't beat San Antonio this year, they're very unlikely or less likely to beat them going forward because the Spurs are only getting better. And I know OKC's got a terrific team. They're not likely to beat an improved Spurs team next year because the Spurs have a lot more growth to improve than OKC does. And OKC had the one injury to Jai Williams.
Don't forget, A.J. Mitchell didn't play at all this season, I don't think. A.J. Mitchell will be on that team next year as well. He's quite an addition as well.
Plus but Holmgren took a step backwards.
Well,
and we're not going to see a new Chet Holmgren next year taking it to, Wemby. Rick mentioned Joe Willie Namath's 83rd birthday. One of my all-time favorites is Joe Namath. Not only a great quarterback, but a really good person. Joe Willie should not have been the MVP of Super Bowl III. It should have gone to Matt Snell.
You and I have talked about that.
Matt Snell was the legitimate MVP, but the hype surrounding Namath, same way Knicks. Willis Reed absolutely should not have been the MVP of that series against the Lakers. It should have been Frazier.
Frazier's lights out. He gets the MVP just because he walked on the floor in Game 7. You're right.
Yeah,
that's the reason he wins.
But consider this factor. Willis Reed really, outside of the emotional lift he gave the Knicks hitting 2 baskets, and I'm not downplaying that, but Game 5, Reed was out. The Knicks was 16 points down without Reed in the second half, because Reed was injured and out. Knicks came back and won without Reed. Without him, Game 5 of that series, then Knicks got annihilated in Game 6 with Reed out. Game 7, Reed hits 2 shots at the beginning of the game, limping onto the court, inspirational like anything, one of the great inspirational stories. But after those 2 baskets, he doesn't do a thing, basically, the rest of the game.
Yep.
Walt Frazier, 36 points, 19 assists.
Hey, a bunch of rebounds, too, I think.
7 rebounds. Even Walt Frazier said, I was doing it all that game. During intermission, I was selling popcorn on the stands. He was laughing, but he was telling the truth.
Yeah.
And he destroyed Jerry West in that Game 7. Walt Frazier was the legitimate MVP like Matt Snell was in the Super Bowl. But the MVP for the Knicks, could it be anyone else besides Brunson? That's an interesting point.
In this series?
Win it. Yeah.
In this series coming up?
Series.
Brunson, well, he's gonna handle the ball so much. If they win, it's probably gonna be Brunson no matter what happens. But I mean, I could see somebody like OG stepping up and having a big series and maybe winning the MVP. And if somebody really steps up and controls Wemby, and I think you're gonna see OG on Wemby a lot in this series. He could win. I mean, Towns is very important in this series as far as
Towns can't get into foul trouble with those silly fouls.
He probably will. Him and Mitchell both.
Added that because with Mitch Robinson, let's be honest, it's going to be physically impaired. But the good thing about it is, nothing good about it. I don't mean to use that term. But the one thing that could benefit the Knicks, even with his injury, Mitch Robinson is not an offensive force per se. He doesn't necessarily need to handle the ball. He just needs to be a physical presence, which he is down low, when he's on defense. That's the main thing.
Now, Towns could be important if he's making that mid-range jumper.
Yeah,
he could be important because he's going to pull Wemby potentially away from the basket unless they put somebody else on him. So I think Towns is important in this series for sure.
My concern is this: if Wemby's at the top of his game defensively, playing down low, it's the way Anunoby drives to the basket. Man, he's going to be met with a force. Same thing with Brunson making the move.
You might see Wemby getting in foul trouble here. He got in foul trouble in Game 7 too, against the Thunder. You might see him if the Knicks, and I think they should be aggressive and take the ball to the hole and try to get him in foul trouble. That's the best defense against Wemby.
Stephen Castle has been an elite defender, but I feel you pair him one-on-one against Brunson. Brunson will find the answers. He'll find the answers. But this isn't a case of being guarded by James Harden. That Brunson is going to have to work. And I think Brunson might be put in a position where he might have to pass a little more, than he's accustomed to. Try to hit the open man a little more. Can Castle stick with him one-on-one? If anyone can, I think it's Stephon Castle. That's a specialty. But maybe Brunson could get him into foul trouble, and that changes the equation.
For the Spurs, I kind of feel like Fox might be the key to this series for them to win it. If he can get back to where he's been historically and play, because he didn't play really well in the finals after he got hurt. And he had some injury issues. I hate using injuries as an excuse, but the fact is he had them. He didn't play up to his.
Injuries happen. And injuries are reason teams win or lose. And listen, you can make an argument OKC would have beaten San Antonio had both teams been 100% if someone wants to. I don't agree, but it is a viable argument.
Again, it's not going to be. I think they would be. Fox can help. Fox could be a very important part of this series if he's playing closer to 100% than he played against the Thunder. The Knicks will have trouble matchups.
I don't want to use the word elite player, but he's an impact player for sure. And you can argue if Fox is 100% healthy, he's closer to being an elite player than he is, being just a good player.
He's just below that elite.
Just below. But, kid, there's a small little factor that no one is considering that could play into things, especially close games. And I'm not sure is it even a factor, but it can't be dismissed. Mike Brown was Fox's coach at Sacramento.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
He should know all about it. Mike Brown is very good at picking up little things. He knows Fox's tendencies. He would know some small weaknesses or the best way to play him. Because when you've seen a guy practicing day in, day out, if anyone knows how to contain Fox, it would be Mike Brown. And Fox is more of an offensive force than defensively.
Good call. Good call.
And so, let's see how Mike Brown copes with, Fox in this series. That's how it normally works. A coach has an edge over a player. Fox can't go back to the Spurs coaching staff and say, oh, this is what Mike Brown likes to do. The whole league knows what, coaches like to do. And if they're trying something new for the first time, it's a sense of panicking then.
Which team do you think, and I don't say want, the NBA does not really care who wins this series. So please don't misunderstand this question. I'm not saying they want one team or the other to win. What team winning is best for the NBA? I think it's the Knicks myself, but you can make an argument that Wemby and the Spurs winning is good for the NBA as well. But I think
if the Spurs win and Wemby is an absolute monster during the series, like he was game 1 against OKC, That's good for the NBA because they have their centerpiece superstar. The NBA always wants to have one franchise player, the league, who they could rally around. It was Bird and Magic, the duo for years. Then it was Michael Jordan. Then it was LeBron James. They want this one massive superstar with global appeal, and you're not going to get that guy on the Knicks. You're just not.
No.
Not even close. Not even close.
If Brunson hasn't gotten there now, he's never getting there.
No, Brunson isn't even on the radar.
No, he should be.
No, they're not even. Listen.
He should be.
No, you're missing the point, Keith. It's the marketing with the
I
NBA.
understand. I'm saying he should be. I understand what you're saying.
He should be what? He's not. I could name 7, 8 guys like Brunson.
I'm saying he plays in the major media market, and the league does not do enough to promote his game.
No, it's because he's not that type of player. He's not a. Brunson is a great player, but he's not a superstar per se. When I talk superstars, I talk Kobe Bryant. If you poll 10 knowledgeable basketball people, and I'm not talking about fans with emotions and all that, not one of the 10 is going to say that Brunson is better than Kobe Bryant was.
Say he's better. He's better than Kobe Bryant is irrelevant.
I'm saying to you, Keith, okay? You're talking about Luka would have the global appeal if the Lakers won a championship.
If the league cares so much about that, why do they promote parity so much? All these leagues want to promote parity. To me, teams, NBA, whoever, are better when there's dynastic teams like the Celtics and the Lakers, right? And the Bulls. The NBA is better when there's teams that you can promote like they can promote those teams.
Yeah.
But they do everything they can so that we don't get those teams. And of these two teams, the most likely to be dynastic is the Spurs, probably, because the Knicks may not have that staying power.
But it's global appeal. For example, the Dodgers. They win a championship. Ohtani has this global appeal as a superstar. As the Blue Jays won the World Series, as great as Vlad Guerrero is, he's not going to be hailed the same way.
He's playing in Canada too, so people aren't going to care as much, right? Ohtani's playing in a major media market, and they market him. So any player
LeBron James played in Cleveland.
You could turn any player into that.
And it's social media. Keith, what you're saying was accurate years ago before social media took off. But with social media, it's not the same.
You can promote any player.
Wemby plays in San Antonio. That's supposed to be small market. But if they win the series, and Wemby performs like a monster during the series, he's going to be the face of the NBA.
They also have a history, too, by the way. They've won the 5th most championships in NBA history, by the way.
No one has that much about that.
Absolutely, they do. They've got guys. Duncan is one of the greatest players in NBA history. He didn't get marketed enough, though, either, I will tell you again.
No, he didn't. But the NBA would love to market a guy like Anthony Edwards. Like it's the next Jordan. He hasn't quite gotten to that level.
Well, to your point, he plays in Minnesota. That's the point. The league wants the media markets.
If the Timberwolves won the NBA championship and Anthony Edwards performed like an absolute superstar, he would be the face of the NBA. They would market things around him.
He'd never be the face of the NBA playing in Minnesota. He wouldn't. No way.
But LeBron was playing in Cleveland.
Why is SGA not the face of the NBA now? You won a championship. He's not the face of the NBA. He's maybe the best one of the best players.
SGA, sometimes it's a question also, Keith, and this is hard to explain, and I can't explain it. Some guys have charisma, some guys don't. It's so hard to explain charisma, and SGA doesn't have charisma. And this is no put down. He's a gentleman. And he might be the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
And believe me, I'm not putting him down. He's a great, great player. He's already punched his ticket to the Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned. And might turn out to be one of the greatest of all time when all is said and done. He still has a lot of work cut out for him in that regard. But SGA, he gives an interview. He's a gentleman, nice, polite, but there's no buzz to him charisma-wise. And which is fine, which is okay. Some guys have more charisma than the others. It's just the way it is.
So every guy, did Jerry West have a lot of charisma? He was a face of the NBA.
Jerry West did in part because he was a white superstar.
He was a great player, but he wasn't
Great player. But I'll tell you who didn't have.
He wasn't charismatic.
I'll tell you who didn't have tremendous charisma. The big O. Oscar Robertson, a little better player than Jerry West, but Jerry West had a little more charisma. It's just, some guys have a little more charisma than the others for whatever reason.
Danny's got a great point about LeBron and why he became a global superstar, because they promoted him when he was in the 8th grade. We heard about him. So that's a big difference too.
But I agree. No, I agree with that statement. But the point is, LeBron did play for a small market team. It didn't hold him back.
Yeah.
I think it meant more in the past before social media. Before social media, it meant a great deal.
Well,
for example, had Hank Aaron played for the Yankees and Mickey Mantle had played for the Milwaukee Braves, we'd look at it differently. Hank Aaron would have been elevated more, and Mickey Mantle would have not been elevated quite as much. But that was before social media.
I think that's fair, but I think it also speaks to my point that the NBA could promote anybody in any city to be the face of the NBA if they wanted to.
You got to get over the top with your performance on the court. And you mentioned SGA. SGA's game on the court wasn't as charismatic as some of the other players. SGA is merely a great, great player. And the one word that describes SGA is efficient. He's like always so darn efficient, consistent. He's a great leader, soft-spoken. Some guys look a little more spectacular in how they go about things.
Let me go back to Jalen Brunson for a second. Do you really feel outside of New York that Jalen Brunson is respected for the way he plays, and he's
promoted? Yes, no, but if Jalen Brunson leads the Knicks to the NBA title, we reevaluate Jalen Brunson, and maybe Jalen Brunson comes out of this on the short list of the best players in the NBA. Because I'm going to tell you now, if I start sitting down in order, have an imaginary draft, these guys could play for you for one season next year, the current guys in the NBA. Jalen Brunson, he might make your top 5, he might not. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to tell you now, Luka's going to be one of your top 5, for example.
Well, Wemby's first, right? I think
Jalen
we can agree
Brunson
with that.
was a step behind Luka at Dallas. He wasn't allowed to grow there in a sense.
They held him back. So, I mean, again, when he was...
He and Luka won great terms, reportedly. They won great... They won excellent terms. They didn't have any...
It's got nothing to do with their relationship. He came to New York and he was allowed to let his game speak for itself, right? And he came off the bench a lot in Dallas as well.
Yeah, but the example I gave you before, if all of a sudden Allen Iverson was the same age as Brunson, they were both in their prime, Iverson joined a Brunson team, Brunson would be he'd have to defer to, AI on that one.
Yeah.
And he might be a better player conceivably, but that's the mentality. But if the Knicks win this, if they beat the Spurs and Brunson performs like a superstar, we've got to look at him much differently. At that point, he makes a believe out of us. Like, for example, Sam Darnold needed to win the Super Bowl, but to finally get out of the shadows of us believing when push comes to shove, he'll be the old Sam Darnold. We'll remember him, how he was with the Jets, how he was with Carolina, how he folded in the playoffs with Minnesota. He had to get it done. And even though Darnold wasn't Super Bowl MVP, he he played well enough and he was really outstanding during the season. Now he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And you want to know something? We can never go back in time and put Sam Darnold down saying, oh, well, the real Sam Darnold show up, being mediocre, because we could always say this is a Super Bowl winning quarterback no matter what.
Well, maybe, but I mean, Trent
Maybe.
Dilfer. Well, Trent Dilfer was a Super Bowl winning quarterback too. So, do we look at him that the same way?
Listen. No disrespect to Trent Dilfer, but everyone understood with Trent Dilfer. When the following season, the Ravens were getting rid of Trent Dilfer as their starting quarterback, no one blinked on the team, on this, on that. Like Jim Jeffcoat said to us, Super Bowl winning player with his old Cowboy teams, he said when Troy Aikman was in quarterbacking our team, we keep saying, Troy, go out there and win this game for us. When they had Jason Garrett as backup and they were thinking, Jason, don't screw things up.
Right.
That's the difference involved. That Trent Dilfer, complete aberration. Complete. Let's be honest. Same with Nick Foles. Nick Foles, a competent backup. Jeff Hostetler did a really beautiful job coming in, backing up, getting it done. But that's what these guys are supposed to do. And even in the NBA Finals, your teams on the bench are supposed to do it. Wait, Jack, I'm not. Danny's comment. Let me read this. Jack, I'm not following you this morning. SGA Wednesday World Championship, 2-time MVP, and Brunson in one championship can get the kudos he deserves. I think what you're trying to say is you need is just consistency. Well, SGA has one World Championship, 2-time MVP, but if Brunson wins this championship and he's final MVP, he's in the discussion the same way as SGA, you have to feel. I can make the argument Brunson is as good as SGA if the Knicks win it all. Can't I? Would that be wrong?
No, I think you're right. I think both of them, and it's hard because Danny's talking to his phone, so it's a little hard because there's some of the words.
But I don't get the point. I'm high on SGA. It's just that he's not as charismatic as an Allen Iverson, a Kobe Bryant. Those
Brunson
guys. He's not.
I think Brunson's charismatic.
He's not. He's not as charismatic. It doesn't mean he can't be as great a player. But
I'm going to stick to the point that if the NBA wanted SGA to be the face of the NBA, he would be, because they would market him that way.
It's hard to market a guy on his style of game. They tried to market Vince Carter for a little while because the way he would dunk the ball, how he got in the air. It's the style of game. It was easy to market Jordan because of how Jordan played the game. Dr. J.
He's great too, by the way.
You could market these guys. Listen, Jokic, great player. We agree on that, right?
Yes.
Great, a superstar Jokic in reality, but you don't his style of game wasn't as marketable. Bullying the other player, getting in the low post. It wasn't as marketable.
I get it to a point. I mean, I don't get how you put Vince Carter in a conversation with those other guys.
No, they tried to for a while.
I know they did.
But he wasn't good. It didn't work out.
They also realized he wasn't good enough to promote as the face of the league.
They realized he was a terrific player, but he wasn't on an island alone. You want one of these guys who's basically on an island alone, who's so great like Jordan.
But they were looking for the next Jordan forever, right? Forever they looked for the next Jordan. It was Vince Carter. Kobe was great, obviously. He went out right away, but Kobe
fit the bill.
I agree.
You know, if you ignore, he had off-the-court problems. But what he did on the court, Kobe fit the bill as a genuine superstar, must-see viewing. I'm going to give you an example. Keith, take people who live in other cities who want to get tickets for the NBA games. Now, SGA is an attraction. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely an attraction. OKC's coming to play. Oh, they got SGA. I want to see them play. It's not as big as like LeBron, Jordan, Kobe. If they're coming in, wow, we got to get to the game. It's like they're the attraction. Same way now, baseball.
Yeah.
Yankees major market. But if you're living in another city, you're thinking Aaron Judge and the New York Yankees are coming to town. You're thinking in those terms.
Well, in baseball, the same thing happens in baseball. I mean, I can argue that Bobby Witt Jr. is the second best player in the American League, and nobody even knows who he is or where he plays.
Right. Bobby Witt Jr. is an attraction. The Royals are coming to town.
Because he's a Kansas City Royal.
They got Bob.
If he played in New York or LA, he'd be the biggest player in the freaking game, Bobby Witt Jr.
I don't know. I can't. Well, the team. Wait. Maybe it's a little less the market than their team's success. Kansas City's not winning. That's the problem.
Well, they're
winning in LA, and the Dodgers and Yankees are winners. They're projected as serious World Series threats year after year. Kansas City isn't. Okay, and that's a difference maker where you wind up playing. Look,
Mike Trout played on a lot of non-contenders, and he played in Los Angeles, so he was a big name.
No, Mike Trout was a big name to a point, but he wasn't nearly as big as it turned out as he could have been. If Mike Trout's career, let's say, goes a few more seasons and he retires and the Angels stay the same, he would have been an underachiever, not so much individually as far as his marketability. Because when we talk about the greatest of the greats, Mike Trout and Ken Griffey Jr. too, to a degree, they don't get the recognition they maybe should get because their teams didn't quite take it to the next level.
I think Griffey got plenty. I think they both have got plenty of recognition over their years because of again, Griffey didn't get hurt like Trout did. Griffey's numbers spoke for himself. He was one of the best. He was recognized as one of the great players in the game.
He's on my short list of all-time greats, Griffey. But the point is, let's get back to Trout a little. Trout, because had he played for the Yankees, the Dodgers, this or that, to your point, I agree. He would have gotten a lot more recognition, and his status would have been even more elevated than it's been. But the reason is less the market, New York and LA, and more the reason would be they're winners. They win.
Listen,
look, put them on the Mets. Juan Soto now. Juan Soto is not creating a buzz in Major League Baseball right now. You want to know why? Because the Mets have been flat.
Juan Soto's not as good as Mike Trout was, and he's not as good as Bobby Witt Jr. is now.
Wait.
It's a one-dimensional player.
Debatable.
One-dimensional player. One-dimensional.
Listen, no. I'm going to tell you, that is debatable. If you want to draw a comparison, who's been better, Juan Soto, Mike Trout? I'm not going to argue with you if you say Mike Trout in his prime is better than Juan Soto in his prime, but it's debatable. It's debatable.
I'm going to tell you right now, Bobby Witt Jr. is better than Soto.
And Juan Soto would probably get a higher yearly salary with both guys on the open market. So I don't want to hear that Bobby Witt is better than Soto. Maybe he is, but it's debate, and maybe he isn't. I'm not going to argue the point.
You can debate, but nobody, but people aren't going to have that conversation. Is my point, because Bobby Witt is buried in Kansas City. In Kansas City, small market, and
they're losing,
and a losing team. Both things play into it. I'll give you that.
They're losing.
Yeah. Anyway, we got off topic.
But who are you picking? So the Knicks and the Spurs. Yep. You're picking the Knicks to win the series.
I am picking the Knicks, and I won't say hard-earned. I will say 7 games without adding the hard fought. 7-game series.
I think it's going 7 games. And man, I always try to be objective, Keith. And this is what I don't like with making predictions. People, they don't give you any slack for trying to be honest. Everyone wants you to be a homer, whether they admit it or not, because if you're wrong, they won't let you forget it. Case in point, look at them in Fox, the pregame show where they have A-Rod, Jeter, so on. And if the Yankees play the Dodgers in the World Series, imagine they're asking Jeter who you're picking, and he picks the Dodgers. Like the attitude fans, how dare you? Yankee Nation has loved you. How can you turn on us? That is the dumb mentality of fans. They don't allow for honesty.
Well, I honestly believe my team will win this series as well.
I know, and I'm emotionally, I think the Knicks are going to win this series. Emotionally, I do. The way they've been playing, I really do. Logically, I feel the Knicks are going to level off a little bit. This can't be the real Knicks team that we've seen the last 11 games. It just can't.
I've got Danny saying the Knicks are going to win.
Yeah,
that's a huge step.
I mean, San Antonio still might be a year away.
They might be.
You know, we were said before they played OKC, you know, and I did pick San Antonio to beat OKC, and I hedged a little bit. I got to be honest, I hedged, no ifs or buts about it. And I said, but they might be a year away. If they've arrived as the team of the future, the way I think they are going to be, they're going to beat OKC. But if they're a year away, I could see them losing a 7-game series if that's the case. And then I said, I think they've arrived, but I'm not overly confident of that.
I think
they beat OKC. Have they necessarily arrived, or are they a year away still?
I think given, and again, I say having experience in the playoffs matters at these points. And now they've got it. They've had adversity throughout. I mean, they had some adversity against Minnesota, right? They had some adversity against OKC where they lost games we thought they would win, or they got blown out and, you know, had to get pep talks. But I think they've gone through things now that bring them to the point that now they do have that playoff experience.
You know, one of my favorite lines of childhood was this. After Bill Russell retired, he was in the broadcast booth at ABC.
I remember, yeah.
Before playoff game, Jack Twyman set him up his answer on the silver platter. He said, Bill, tell us, what does this valuable playoff experience mean? He's talking about the two teams. And Russell said, not a thing. I loved it. I love Bill's honesty. And he said, you just got to play the game a certain way. It means nothing.
The guy was in a playoffs every year. It means something. Come on.
It doesn't mean anything in this series at all. You know, except
we can look at neither team has got experience in the finals. So
right. The only way it could mean you take things from a confidence viewpoint. And look, did OKC believe they were going to beat San Antonio? Yes. Did their lack of success in the regular season against San Antonio creep into their heads? I'm sure it did. And I'm sure San Antonio thought, you know, we've beaten these guys in the regular season. We're 3 games apiece with them going into the final game. These guys, even though the game's at OKC, they got nothing on us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the experience, you know, of playing one another before. Knicks have won 2 out of 3 against San Antonio. They're aware of that. We can beat these guys. We've had success with these guys. And San Antonio's probably a bunch of young guys who seem to like one another, who are playing with tremendous enthusiasm. The Knicks seem more like the experienced team, the executive team, and the Spurs are the young, energetic team.
They are far more experienced as a whole, not necessarily playoff finals experience, but definitely experience.
I will say this. If this is a shorter 4 or 5 game series, I go with the Knicks. Absolutely. I can't see for the life of me the Spurs dominating the series.
So you think the longer the series goes, the better chance that the Spurs win?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think the Knicks, you know, if the Knicks strike, or if they win the first 2 games in San Antonio, can San Antonio come back? Yeah, of course. Any team can come back 2-0, and we've seen it happen a lot. But if the Knicks come out and they win the first couple of games and they're very dominant, I don't think they're going to sweep. I think San Antonio will win a couple of games still, but
as far as
the handle in the series.
As far as getting off quickly, we got kind of two narratives now kind of beating into each other's heads.
I don't know, Danny. Let me tell you one narrative.
Let me finish my thought because it's got to do with what Danny says here. Then you can go. There's two narratives that are going to bang each other in the head here. We got whether the Spurs take a deep breath and go, wow, that was a tough series and we've accomplished a lot. And they get off to a slow start game one or early in the series. But the Knicks have also been off now for 9 days. Now, they've had that happen before, but some of that momentum is going to be checked. So I think how this series starts is going to be very, very interesting, given the two very different scenarios for both these teams.
I know one scenario which I think we overrated, and I overrated it for a while, was, let the Spurs and OKC go 7 games. Let them beat up on one another, and the Knicks will be well rested, ready to cash in. I think I at least overrated that narrative completely because there are 4 days between games.
Yeah.
Between the final games.
No, 3 games.
San Antonio has enough time to now rest up. Yep. That 7-game series isn't taking anything out of them physically at all. They're not going to be a tired team. They had 4 games to rest. It's not like they had to come back a couple of days later.
But Danny's point is that they're going to take that deep breath. And
I don't think so
release.
at all.
Right?
I don't think you just need Wemby's words. When they were 2 games apiece, okay, he was saying we have 6 more games to go. I love that attitude. As opposed to someone else who'd say, nearly any other player would say, 1 game at a time. We're not looking past game 5.
Yeah.
He didn't say that. He's looking at the big picture. And I love when players look at the big picture. Look, we have to win the championship. We have to win X amount of games. And I hope the Knicks are looking at it. We've got to win these 4 games ahead of them. And they, not so much thinking, 1 game at a time.
That's fair too, Rick.
Did Embiid really throw in the towel when they were down 3-0? Sometimes you're going to lose at a certain point. Then it becomes 1 game at a time. If you're down 3-0, it's hard to think, we got to win the next 4. Just grab a game and take it from there.
Wemby's also in much better physical condition than Embiid was during that Knicks series, too.
And Wemby has got a great attitude. You could see he's got a good relationship with his coach, his teammates. And things are nice at San Antonio. They're upbeat. They really are.
It's going to be
upbeat with the Knicks. Things are happy with the Knicks.
I don't see
any little dissension. And then we talk about San Antonio having a deep bench. The Knicks have a darn deep bench themselves now. I mean, when guys like
it's a bit inconsistent.
And Alvarado are hardly getting in, and those guys can play if they have to. If you give them enough playing time, those guys were starters at one point with other teams.
Clarkson's kind of become the 3rd option off the bench behind Shamat and Alvarado, really. And McBride, maybe the 4th.
And we forgot how good he was at Utah at one point. Yeah. So if you have to go to Clarkson in a big spot, who's to say he can't get it done?
He really hasn't been an impact player in this playoff run. The other guys have. The other 3 guys off the bench have been really good at times. So I think the bench might be deeper.
The Knicks, I don't want to call it practice squad, but the guys who get in for mop-up like Kolek, so on, those guys can play a bit.
Well, they're not going to play. They're not going to play until the Knicks are up by 2.
No, they're not going to get to play. No. If they do get to play, if they're put in a meaningful spot, that's bad. That's what they had with Thibodeau last year. I didn't like that in the playoffs. All of a sudden, when things weren't going the Knicks' way, he was trying new things.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you can't.
No, you got to go back to what got you there. Well, we spent a lot more time on that than I thought we would today. I wanted to get in a couple real quick.
That's all the news. That's all anyone's talking about here, the NBA Finals for the most part.
No, that's fair. And it should be. I'm glad the NBA's got that. The NHL, real quick, the NHL Stanley Cup final start tomorrow night. The surprising Las Vegas Knights against the Danny's Carolina Hurricane. The Canes are a big favorite in this series. I do think the Vegas has a chance to win this because they play really gritty, physical hockey the way that John Tortorella wants his teams to play, and he has great success in the short term. And I think Vegas is a live dog in this series and can win this whole thing if they get off to a big start tomorrow night.
Vegas is a live dog, but when you think of what the NHL wants, is this the finals they really wanted?
No, doubtful.
If the one compelling personality is the Vegas coach, John Tortorella, that's not quite what you want, for marketing purposes. I mean, the Hurricanes should be favored. They didn't think Las Vegas would even get to the finals, and to get there, by sweeping is, pretty noteworthy. Hockey's like baseball. Anyone could beat anyone. It's not like basketball. You got more handle on it. If you have a better team in basketball, you're going to win virtually all the time.
Most of the time.
The way it is. The vast majority. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Like we were talking before, when Golden State had Curry, Durant, and LeBron had no one on Cleveland. You kind of knew Golden State's not losing, no way, But this is hockey. But in hockey, anyone beats anyone else. I don't know. Is Tortorella getting in the officials' heads? Maybe getting a couple extra calls going his way. But it could be entertaining.
I do think Vegas style of play is possibly going to give Carolina some problems. We'll see. Gave the Avs a lot of problems, so we'll see how that works out. And Rick, I think we talked about this a little bit yesterday about Oakley slamming Ewing about being a New York City guy. Yeah. We'll probably get into that at another point.
But the reason for that very quickly, because when Oakley had its problems with the owner James Dolan, Ewing was quiet about it.
Yeah.
He didn't get involved, Ewing. And
again,
Oakley is upset. Trashing. That's the reason it's trashing you.
And I'm on Charles Oakley's side in the whole James Dolan thing, but he's his own worst enemy, Charles Oakley, as well at the same time. So,
I don't know what the origin is of the whole feud, how it started from the beginning. Why Oakley was mad at Dolan to begin with.
Well, he had some bad things to say about him, and then Dolan had him removed from the Garden one night when he was acting out.
Reportedly, Oakley was creating a scene or something, and I don't know, but
that's where it really blew up. Anyway, was when he had him removed from the Garden.
Bad then when he entered the game. Yeah, it was bad then. But
and I think it's kind of sad that he's not there to be able to celebrate with those other guys who didn't win.
How can Dolan invite him now? If Dolan invites him, he's going to. The way he trashed Ewing on top of it.
Yeah, he can't. And Oakley.
And Ewing, to his credit, hasn't retaliated. He hasn't said anything bad about Oakley.
And
to his credit.
I wish he could be there. That's all, because Oakley deserves to be there with us as well. You have a great week too, Danny.
Danny. Thanks for all the comments, Danny.
Jack, you want to give us a lead in for Glove Fist tonight with you and Frank Latour?
Yeah, I mean, Dmitry Bivol, light heavyweight champion of the world, won his fight against the fighter Michael Eifert. They fought in Russia, actually, over the weekend.
Right.
And now Bivol is probably going to have a rubber match with Artur Beterbiev. I'd rather he just fight David Benavidez. That would be a super fight, one of the best fights you can make in boxing. That would really be eagerly anticipated. But so we'll see what the next move is there.
Good stuff. So see Jack and Frank tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern here on the McGrath Podcast Network. I'll see you Wednesday with the College Sports Huddle, and we'll wrap up. Well, not wrap up. We'll get you guys up to date on the softball and baseball playoffs in the NCAA. Sorry, Danny, UCLA went out in both of them yesterday, shockingly. But we'll catch you up on all that on Wednesday. And Jack and I will see you again on Friday morning at 8 a.m. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.